Joe Hennig, Curtis Axel, could he be the latest name headed to Impact Wrestling in the near future? Well, according to former WWE superstar and friend of Joe Hennig, Heath Slater, the current Impact Wrestling wrestler, if you want to call him that, sign Heath, right? Technically, he's a free agent. But according to Heath, he has spoken recently to TV Insider about a variety of topics when it comes to Impact Wrestling, and he did reveal that he has spoken to Joe Hennig about potentially coming into Impact Wrestling in the near future. Now, of course, Joe Hennig isn't locked into any contract right now. He was released by WWE with a variety of superstars, talents, and employees on April 15th this year as part of the budget cuts associated with COVID-19. But curiously, since then, Curtis Axel, Joe Hennig has not appeared anywhere. The majority of WWE superstars that were released back in April now have signed or at least appeared in other companies, other even independent scenes. You've had the likes of the Good Brothers obviously go to Impact Wrestling. Heath mentioned there as well. Eric Young, the likes of Miro go to AEW. Matt Cardona also went to AEW. Brian Myers went to Impact Wrestling. Even the likes of Aiden English has made the rare independent appearance. But people like Curtis Axel, we've heard nothing from. Even people like Eric Rowan has done a variety of interviews talking about the future, about what is available to him. Would he go to AEW? Would he go to Impact Wrestling? All of that stuff has been spoken about when it comes to Eric Rowan. But Curtis Axel, Joe Hennig, he stayed very, very quiet. Now, as I mentioned, Heath recently spoke to TV Insider promoting Bound for Glory and Victory Road that happened this past weekend, and he spoke about talking to a very close friend of his. Heath said, quote, "I would like to see Joe Hennig over here, Mr. Perfect Son. I would like to see him come over to Impact. I've talked to him, but he's doing his thing right now and enjoying life. I don't blame him. Do you, buddy? He's one of my best friends and a hell of a worker." End quote. So we know there that Heath is openly talking to people about possibly coming into Impact Wrestling. One of those is, of course, as he mentioned, Joe Hennig. And he also mentioned in that TV Insider interview that he's spoken to a lot of guys still currently under contract in WWE who have openly said, man, Impact are doing great things at the moment. I'd love to come to Impact, but I still have a year left, 18 months left of my contract. So don't be surprised if in the future, over the next couple of years, if you see a lot more names leave WWE and go to Impact Wrestling. And that's just testament to the momentum that Impact has right now. That's testament to the product and how good the product is right now. And the freedom that a lot of the performers have right now in Impact Wrestling. They've seen those WWE superstars that Heath is speaking of there. They've seen the likes of Heath come in and do fantastic work. They've seen the likes of the Good Brothers come in, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, and finally be able to be themselves, be the Anderson and Gallows that everyone wanted to see in WWE, be the Anderson and Gallows that everyone knew and enjoyed from New Japan. They've been that version of Anderson and Gallows so far in Impact Wrestling. And then also you have to obviously look at people like Eric Young. Eric Young came into Impact Wrestling after just being, quite frankly, in the wilderness when it comes to WWE. He was so far out of the picture that he was nowhere near the frame. I mean, Eric Young was just not on anyone's radar, and to the point where by his return to Impact Wrestling, when he returned at Slammiversary, I think a lot of people said, oh, it's great, Eric Young's back, but I don't think anyone, quite frankly, expected to see this amount of success with Eric Young. If you've listened to any of my videos on Impact Wrestling here on the channel, you know my thoughts about Eric Young. I think he's the best heel in Impact Wrestling right now. I think he's the best everything, quite frankly, of him in Impact Wrestling right now. I think he's the best wrestler. I think he's the best character. I think his promo work is the best. I think everything, just that whole world-class maniac character is just being played to absolute perfection right now in Impact Wrestling, and that's a testament, obviously, of course, to Eric Young, but it's also a testament to Impact Wrestling, and having the foresight to look at someone like Eric Young and the way that he was being treated in WWE and not being used in WWE, having a look at him and go, this guy's got history with the company, we can do something with him. He is capable of so much more. And I think people who are currently under contract in WWE, maybe not very happy, maybe not content with their spot or their lack of TV time or whatever, are looking at people like Eric Young, looking at people like the Good Brothers, looking at people like Heath and going, there's a place for me somewhere else. And that could be in Impact Wrestling. So as far as Joe Hennig goes, For me, I've always wanted Joe Hennig to be called Joe Hennig. Everyone, I think, wants for him to be called Joe Hennig. And I know sometimes it can be a burden to be the son of or the daughter, of that matter, of a very famous professional wrestler, a WWE legend, a WWE Hall of Famer, arguably one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and Mr. Perfect. He's up there for me. I'm a huge Mr. Perfect fan. His matches in WWE, if anything, his vignettes of coming to WWE are what many people aspire to. Everyone, even to this day, talks about the Mr. Perfect vignettes. And how many years removed are we from that? What, like 30, maybe more? That is a testament to how great that Mr. Perfect character was. And not many people could pull that off. Curt Hennig was a very special talent, and I know so many people since then have been compared to Curt Hennig, or this guy's the next Curt Hennig. We used to always hear that about Dolph Ziggler, didn't we? They're the next Curt Hennig. This is the next Curt Hennig. And I think, one, that's a testament to how great Curt Hennig is. Whenever you try and have the next anyone, that shows you how great that original wrestler was. And that's how great Curt Hennig was. So I think I understand when it comes to WWE. Originally, when it came to Joe Hennig, they wanted him to be, was it Michael McGillicutty? What a terrible name that is. What a terrible name. And his introduction in season 2 of NXT, when it was on Sci-Fi, and the era of McGillicutty, just, man, that promo is tough to watch. I would recommend to go back and watch it because it's that bad. And I don't blame it on Joe Hennig. I think it was just a very awkward time. That whole initial game show element of what NXT was, by all accounts, they didn't really tell the talents, the NXT rookies, about what they were going to be doing. It was very much, they withheld a lot of information from you. Okay, cut a promo on this, go, bang. And some people shone and some people didn't. I still think that Joe Hennig, as Heath Slater said there, is a tremendous worker. I think you look at his work during his run with the B Team, and even prior to that, I would argue maybe some of his truly best work, and I know what some people might disagree with me here, but I think some of his best work came as part of the Miztourage. Back in 2017, I thought that work was absolutely tremendous. I thought he really came into his own there as a viable backup, a viable henchman to a top heel in The Miz on Monday Night Raw. I love that. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, what about his work with Paul Heyman? Support for WrestleNews 365 is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Now, Manscaped, for all of my UK fans out there, Manscaped just launched in the UK. Over here in the United Kingdom, we have gone for years and years and years without using the right tools for the job. But now you can be one of the first men in England to experience their life-changing product. But it's not just limited to all of the great fans over here in the UK. This offer goes worldwide, so all of my friends over in America and around the world that are listening to this offer still does apply for you. You can still use our code. But I've got to tell you a quick story first. Now, there have been so many times, right? I'm a guy. You gotta groom down there, fellas, right? That's the most important thing. You gotta keep yourself trimmed. You gotta keep yourself proper. And a lot of the time, I've been guilty of this, of using the wrong tools for the job. I've had incidences, I'm not afraid to say it, where things have been nicked, snagged, or in fact cut down there because I wasn't being careful enough and using the right equipment. Now, that just shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. You don't want to be worrying about cutting yourself down there. Do you know how painful that is? I can tell you, it hurts quite a lot. And I wish and hope to God it never happens to me again, and it won't happen to me ever again because I'm using Manscaped products. That's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team has perfected the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created. Big statement, but it's absolutely true. They have just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0 in the UK. It's also available around the world as well. Their third generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. So those cuts and snags that I was telling you about before are a thing of the past. And let me tell you, when I tell you this is premium, I mean premium. The battery will last up to 90 minutes so you can get a longer, perfect shave. And not only that, you don't want to be cutting yourself and trimming yourself all over the bathroom, getting hair all over the place. That's just disgusting. The lawnmower has a waterproof technology that allows you to groom in the shower, so no more mess. And one of the coolest features, one of my favorite features about the lawnmower, is the LED light which illuminates grooming areas for a closer and more precise trimming experience. So you can shave longer, you can shave more precisely, and you can shave in the shower. What more did I need to tell you? They've also upgraded to a 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology, and let's not forget about the charging stand. You can show off your mower loud and proud because this intelligently designed stand is a convenient charging dock powered by USB. So, if you are listening to me speak right now, I want you to experience it firsthand for yourself. Let's get that bush to tush clean, and you can get 20% off and free shipping. Yeah, you heard me right there. 20% off and free shipping. All you have to do is use the code 365wrestle at manscaped.com. Make your testes their besties. That's 20% off and free shipping. Not only are you getting 20% off, you're getting free shipping as well with the code 365wrestle at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the code 365wrestle. Your balls will thank you. Curtis Axel, he was rebranded, right? He was Michael McGillicuddy, and then he was rebranded into Curtis Axel, which was meant to be a play on Curt Hennig, and Axel as Larry the Axe Hennig, so paying tribute to his father and his grandfather there. And a lot of people were excited, myself included. You heard these reports at the time. Triple H is a huge fan of Joe Hennig. Joe Hennig is going to get this big push on TV. He's going to become Curtis Axel. He was a Paul Heyman guy, which at the time was a very exclusive thing. It still is to be considered a Paul Heyman guy. Paul Heyman usually only manages world champions in WWE, so I think a lot of people thought, okay, this is going to be someone to be anointed. It's going to be Curtis Axel's run to the main event. And looking back on it, what it really was, and Paul Heyman has actually opened up about this too, is I think initially people thought, okay, Joe Hennig being paired with Paul Heyman means Curtis Axel's going to the main event. In reality, it was the precursor to Paul Heyman's feud with CM Punk. Paul Heyman has come out on record to say that you needed, look, Brock Lesnar isn't going to be there on TV every week. And during this feud that Paul Heyman had with CM Punk in 2013, they can't have CM Punk wrestling Paul Heyman every week on TV, and they need to have someone to go through to get to Paul Heyman, someone that is going to be there on TV every week, and someone that CM Punk can beat and is going to beat. So Curtis Axel becoming a Paul Heyman guy was more just of a foil to the CM Punk Paul Heyman storyline. They needed someone that CM Punk could work with every week on TV and work on house shows with, and that was Curtis Axel. So it was obviously a push because Curtis Axel had more time on TV, and he was associated with the likes of Paul Heyman, CM Punk, Brock Lesnar, and he won the Intercontinental Championship during that period of time. I believe it was even on Father's Day, and he held the same Intercontinental Championship as his father, Curt Hennig, and it was a great moment. In the grand scheme of things, though, was it a push? It's difficult to say. I see the argument on both sides when people will say it was a push because he was in a featured spot on TV. I see the other side of the argument when people say, well, yes, it was a featured spot on TV, but realistically, what did he get out of it? And the answer is nothing, because he's now no longer under WWE contract. And obviously that was a long time after he got released after that Paul Heyman run, but it still shows what did that do for his career. As I mentioned earlier, I think that Curtis Axel's best time in WWE came as part of the Miz Taraj. I thought that whole faction of the Miz as being the Intercontinental Champion on Raw, having Bo Dallas, and then having Curtis Axel, and then Maurice part of that whole Miz Taraj scene, I thought was excellent. And during that time in 2017, The Miz was one of maybe the top heel on Monday Night Raw. I mean, legitimately. And that is obviously a testament to how great The Miz is, and The Miz's promos, and The Miz's ability, which is unquestionable. It really is. I think, if anything, this is a guy that's main evented WrestleMania as a former WWE champion, and he's still criminally underrated. But at the time, I think Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas also did a phenomenal job as the Miz Taraj. So there's so much he can do. I do think, in the same way that Heath Slater, I think there's way more to Heath Slater, and I was a big advocate of this when Heath came into Impact Wrestling. There is way more to Heath than just being a comedy guy. If you look at his work in WWE, you would say, well, Heath, he can do comedy, he can maybe be in a tag team, but that's his ceiling. And Heath had that promo with Drew McIntyre on Raw just before he signed with Impact Wrestling back in July. And a lot of people's eyes were opened because of that to say, wow, Heath is capable of way more. He can be serious. He can be a world champion in Impact Wrestling. And he looks great, sounds great. He can talk. There's so much more to him. Now, coming into Impact, Heath has still relied on the comedy side of things so far. But my point being, there's more than just one tool to Heath's arsenal. And I think it's the same with Curtis Axel. I think it's the same with Joe Hennig. I think a lot of people want to see Joe Hennig be Joe Hennig. I don't think they want to see him be Mr. Perfect Jr. or anything like that. But I think they want to see him embrace his heritage. I think they want to see him be himself, and he's a solid worker. He can do good things in Impact Wrestling, and Heath mentioned that he's a good friend of Heath, so maybe Joe Hennig comes in and gets involved in a stable with Heath and Rhino. That could be a lot of fun. But I think he's more than just a comedy character. He was with the WWE for a long time. And like Heath said, if he's taking his time away and he's got a good nest egg and you know what, he's going to ride this whole pandemic out, I don't blame him. It's probably the smart thing to do. But I think the option's there. And I think when I look at the options available to Joe Hennig, I think Impact Wrestling is just the place that suits him best, if I'm going to be really honest. I can't see Curtis Axel, Joe Hennig going to AEW. I don't see where he fits in there. Quite frankly, I think he could potentially get lost in the shuffle. That roster is very, very deep. It's got a lot of big stars on there. I think Impact Wrestling is the best place for him to go to really shine. Same as if he went to the likes of Ring of Honor, maybe even MLW is an option as well. I don't know if he's going to be making independent dates. I don't know about his family life. I know a lot of people aren't making those independent dates. There was sort of a move back to wrestlers taking the indie dates because some independent shows are opening back up now. But we've seen in recent weeks that those indie dates don't have full COVID testing. While they do have social distancing, hand sanitizing, wearing masks, etc., they don't have full COVID testing. And if you don't have that, you're always running the risk. That's what's led to a recent breakout when it comes to AEW is certain talents that will work in independent dates. It's a risk. And again, I don't know the personal life of Joe Hennig. I don't know about if he's got family, kids, etc. But you're running the risk. So if I was him, I wouldn't be running those independent dates. But places that are doing COVID testing are the likes of Impact Wrestling. So I think Curtis Axel, Joe Hennig is a fantastic fit for Impact Wrestling. As Heath has said, he's living his life right now. He's enjoying life. He's doing his own thing. But I think he'd be a massive asset, and I think Impact would be interested. And if what Heath is saying true, then Heath's going to do his best to try and convince him. So maybe we will see Joe Hennig inside the Impact Zone in the near future. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on Curtis Axel, Joe Hennig potentially coming into Impact Wrestling? Do you think this would be a good signing? Is it a signing you'd like to see in Impact Wrestling? How would you bring Joe Hennig into Impact Wrestling? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys on this channel. Really enjoy chatting the wrestling with you. So if you do have a comment, be sure to leave it below. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button as well. Really does help us out here on YouTube. Go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestling News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.